The party is taking away more and more freedoms every day from the Chinese people, cracking down more and more on everything in Chinese people's lives, and at the same time lying and coercing and cheating and hacking and stealing. Wartime scenario plans like hacking infrastructure and hacking the water supply and electric grids and all that kind of stuff, all laid out so that the West, when push comes to shove, when we do end up in a situation where there is conflict with China, they have so many tools to be able to coerce the West into stopping.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Change Agents, an Ironclad original presented by our friends over at Firecracker Farm. Today we're going to be talking about China, their global influence, what the reality is like, life in China, specifically for people from the West, access to information, propaganda, how they control information, and an extension of that, their society. My guests today are Matthew Tai and Winston Sterzel. They host a show on YouTube called The China Show, based on their own experience firsthand living in China. Matthew is an American YouTuber, a political commentator, and a travel vlogger. He is also a commentator on political and social issues in China. Winston is a South African vlogger who lived in Shenzhen in Guangdong, China for 14 years. He moved to China in February 2006 after attending a business meeting in Shenzhen the previous year. Between the two of them, I believe there are 24 years of firsthand experience living in China. They both have moved out of China with their wives and families, both of which were Chinese citizens. Let's get into the show. The best start, honestly, probably for the audience is you guys need to introduce yourself and explain how the hell you met. How did a South African and a dude from Philadelphia just, casually cross paths in, China, just down the road?
Sure.
Fire away.
Yeah. Well, should we get going then on our story? I'll tell you. Well, it's an interesting story. I went to China on a business trip in 2006.
Yeah.
And I went there for 3 days, and it was an amazing experience for me because having grown up in South Africa, it's not the most vibrant, place. The cities aren't all that big. Go to China. I went to Shenzhen, which is this tech hub, and it was kind of a crazy, chaotic experience. It was vibrant, interesting, filthy, but at the same time, there was a lot of promise. And I thought, this is really cool. I really want to be here. So I went back home. I sold everything, and I went back to China, and I thought, this is where I want to go and have an adventure. I very quickly learned that nobody can speak English, that it's very difficult. Visas were difficult. Everything was difficult. And I actually ran out of money and it ended up on the street for a couple of days, but I managed to work my way up. It was kind of fun. Anyway, it turns out that when YouTube came along, people back home were concerned about me. They would ask, like, what are you doing in China? China's crazy. They'll execute you for saying the wrong thing, that type of thing. And it wasn't like that. So I decided, you know what? I want to show people what my life is like here. So I started to upload videos to YouTube because it was a new format. And people started to watch, and they were like, hey, this is interesting. How much does it cost to rent a house in China? What's it like to date a local in China? That kind of thing. And I just started to make videos and got fairly popular. And it turns out I was actually the first person to ever upload YouTube videos onto YouTube from China. That's right, yeah. The original China vlogger. And so I'd already been fairly established, and Matt got a hold of me and said, hey, we should meet up, because he'd also started a YouTube channel, right?
That's right. Yeah. I guess maybe I was the second one.
Yeah.
Originally, we were just making videos to show people back home that we weren't dead. I'll be honest with you, like most people around me thought I was absolutely insane that I wanted to go to China. I was just coming off this backpacking trip I did through Europe, and I didn't want to settle down yet. I was in my early 20s. I was like, I'm going to go check out Asia. So I wanted to go to Taiwan originally, but it wasn't a hiring season for all those kind of teaching English jobs that you get. And I got a job offer from a place in China. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to sell everything. I'm going to go over there. I'm young enough.
Yeah.
Went over there, and obviously people were concerned. So started making videos showing them that life was fine.
Yeah.
Ended up living in China for a while, but we ended up meeting up and starting a custom motorcycle company. And one of the reasons we did that was because we were always doing trips on motorcycles by ourselves. And Winston's very handy. So we started buying these Japanese bikes in China, the highest quality ones we could find, and then modifying them to our liking.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of took off, especially in the expat community. People started to be interested in buying custom bikes and
Lots
doing
of challenges. Yeah.
doing their own little traveling. And we ended up going across the entire country. So we rode all the way through the south, probably 5,000 kilometers on one trip. We did 10,000 kilometers through the north. We did everything in between. And we ended up filming it and doing a couple documentaries that we did for TV, Conquering Southern and Conquering Northern China. And those were well received because a lot of people told us that was the first time they had seen footage of China or a journey through China that wasn't some well-prepared thing through the major cities. This was completely off the beaten path with two guys that could speak Chinese. They were meeting local people, speaking to them about their lives. It wasn't curated by the government or propaganda department. It was very organic.
It was also completely unsanctioned by the Chinese government. We had no permits. Motorcycles are actually seen as something very undesirable. In most Chinese cities, they're actually banned. You can't ride motorcycles into them. Really? So we had to do all sorts of crazy things to get around this. And, so a lot of fun stories. But basically what we were doing was very clandestine. Yeah. And so that's why we got such good footage and natural interactions.
Yeah.
When you were talking about being the first person to upload videos to YouTube from China, I think one of the most common misconceptions, I don't know if there's anything largely but misconceptions probably about China. There's the government level, the way they talk about it, a near peer adversary, and economic, and we're pitted against each other. I think most people would believe that internet access is probably more tightly controlled, and access to information or ability to upload like that would be controlled. Okay. So how did you get around that?
Well, you see, the thing is, YouTube wasn't initially blocked. Yeah. Okay. So it was unblocked in the beginning for about a year or so, maybe a little longer. Somewhere around 2007 or 2008, thereabouts, they blocked it for a little bit. They let it open again, then they completely blocked it. But what made me different from most people is my tech background. Is I was able to, before there were commercial VPNs out there, because now you can go buy a VPN. You see adverts for them everywhere. Yep. I actually set up, through some friends of mine overseas, my own private VPN. And so I was still able to upload when nobody else was able to. So that kind of solidified me as the only, China YouTuber, because nobody else could do it. They didn't have the technical know-how. So that kept me going for a couple of years until you started to get commercially available VPNs. That's how you were uploading, correct? That's right. Yeah. So that's how we did it. But you know what? The internet is incredibly censored in China. And it's to the point where you can't use anything. People here in the States are used to using like an Amazon Alexa or a Google Assistant or something. That won't work in China.